All right, day 3 of SportStream. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Today we have Janelle from LiveU on the show, and she's going to talk about some advanced LiveU workflows using LiveU technology. Now, on day 1, we talked a little about the solo and how that's great, for streaming your own kids' athletics or youth athletics from a field, or just if you want a single camera shot to come off. But this show isn't just about, cellular bonding, a single video stream. This is about actually doing a remote workflow in a sports environment using LiveU technology, which is hardware and software all together. So Janelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gary. Very excited to be here.
So we're going to talk about that ecosystem with the central management, contribution, production, and distribution. So take it first. Tell us a little about yourself and why you're the person doing the show today.
Sure. So I'm Janelle Moorfield. I'm the VP of the sports team and the sales team here at LiveU in the US. I've been at LiveU for a little over 6 years and focused primarily on building out solutions for the sports market, which could include teams, leagues, broadcasters, production companies, college athletics, both the news around sports as well as the actual primary production of a sport itself. So I came when LiveU had just launched the LU 600 and was sort of dabbling with Remy production. And, through the COVID years of everyone sort of embracing LiveU technology. So it's been an amazing journey. And honestly, what I'm about to introduce today is probably the coolest and most innovative thing we've really brought to market since I started at LiveU. So we're launching this officially at IBC. So this is like our sort of new formal way of saying, LiveU is not just contribution encoders. We're offering the end-to-end contribution, production, and distribution solution for sports.
Awesome. Now, you guys are the inventors of IP bonding technology, but I want to talk about the pedigree. A lot of people watch the Olympics. How many LiveU backpacks do you think were at the Olympics in Paris this past month?
Wow, that's a great question because we had about 200 that we just probably rented and, just south of 200. Then we had about all of our existing customers bringing, we had, I don't know, I want to say around maybe 500 if I had to guess, maybe less.
100.
But
so when we're
hundreds.
talking about these solutions, these are proven solutions and proven technologies that are used on the highest levels of sports production. Now we're bringing it down to customers who have more limited budgets, but still want to produce that same kind of show, and also who recognize that they can't get a production van full of people or a truck full of people to an event, but you don't have to anymore. So before we get into that, talk a little bit about LRT and the little magic that is the whole LiveU cloud.
Of course. So we were the pioneer of really bringing video over the public internet to broadcasters reliably and high quality. And we did this with a technology that we invented that some people, refer to as bonded cellular or IP bonding, but it's the idea that we are taking as many network interfaces, that first mile onto the public internet, bonding them together and creating lots of resiliency protocols in our transmission. So we have a proprietary transport protocol we call LRT, LiveU Reliable Transport. But this is the secret sauce behind everything that is touching our ecosystem of solutions. And it's the reason we use something like this is because we're very much aware that cellular networks by themselves are unreliable. So in order to make those reliable, it's not just a matter of bonding them, but it's tightly coupling the network interfaces with the encoding and putting in resiliency techniques like in the next slide, packet ordering, forward error correction, acknowledge and resend, adaptive bitrate encoding. This is all very like behind the scenes under the hood, but it's what makes our technology and our solutions so robust in sports. And I say this because a lot of people think bonded cellular, why not just, it's just a bunch of cellular networks, it's just a connection. But it's more than that, right? The encoding is a really important part of how we are able to transport video specifically live over the public internet using whatever network interface is available. It could just be Ethernet with cellular as backup, which is a common application of LiveU in sports, because a lot of these venues have Ethernet, and at least they've got the backup. or it could be sort of spreading the signal and duplicating those packets across multiple networks like cellular, low orbit satellite like a, Starlink or something, some other LEO type provider. It could be, traditional satellite IP uploads or standard cellular. So it's really any network interface.
I think one of the things that's important to talk about here is we all will have watched a video on our phone, be it a live game or a video that's streaming on Netflix. And I know I stream live sports a lot, and you could be 3 people in the same room streaming the same live sport download, and you're all at different parts of the game, because the signals are not always reliable. So what you guys do with all the technology is not only you splitting it up between the carriers, but you're really making sure everything's synced perfectly. You're handling any lost or dropped packets to make up for them. And if you're doing a live sporting event, delays are our enemy. We need low latency, but we also need it to be really smooth because we're watching action. It's not a talking head there. It's, a sporting event. And if you miss the goal or you miss the pitch, it's a big problem. So we really love that your technology has that. LRT is the secret sauce. I love that line, and we use it all the time. And let's talk about how now we're not just the secret sauce of the bonding, but we're actually expanding to be a complete sports production solution. So it's more than just bonding.
Absolutely. So we've evolved our solutions to catch up with where the market is today. And there's a huge demand for content, but there isn't a huge budget for content, right? Like I feel like there's a ton of long tail sports or sort of tier 2, tier 3 sports that really they've got some sponsorships, they've got maybe a paywall or something to distribute their content, but producing it is still very heavy lifting in terms of budgeting. So we came about this solution is what we're dubbing lightweight sports production, because that's what it is. It's very it's minimalistic, easy to use, turnkey, and it's a combination of 3 of our major pillars of service offerings: our contribution encoders, our LiveU Studio cloud production solution, and the distribution element, which is a combination of like streaming distribution. Many providers have to send to an OVP, OTT network, maybe social media, maybe multiple channels at once, or even back to a decoder. So on the contribution side, up here, you kind of take a look at a snapshot of the LiveU encoders. This is a mix of portable encoders, 300S and the 800. These are sort of our staples right now in sports. Many sports organizations are using this primarily for primary production, REMI production, and cloud production. And recently we've introduced a suite of rack mount encoders as well, because we're seeing a lot of deployment happening in cases, in vehicles and trucks, flyaway type setups where they don't necessarily need a backpack. They really want to have something a little bit more elegant racked into a rack area.
And the funny thing is that I think you guys are a major reason this has changed in our industry. The truck isn't that 18-wheeler full of gear anymore. It's like an Amazon Sprinter where there's one guy, or 2 guys running the show and stuff. That's when you say lightweight. I think I want to stress that lightweight doesn't mean it's not high performance. Lightweight really means it's easy. It's less overhead from the taxing point of view of the systems and resources you need. And it's lightweight from the amount of people and the amount of hardware you actually have to deploy at the sporting event. So we're using lightweight as a term of endearment and as a feature that's by design to make it lightweight and easier and simpler for you to use.
Absolutely. And this wouldn't be possible without the next element of what we're offering in this package is LiveU Studio. So some of you guys may know we launched LiveU Studio early last year. It was a very, elegant solution at the time, really excellent for podcasts that want to do live programming, post-game, pre-game interviews, press conferences, and the like. But Studio 2.0 is a completely different animal, and this is really brand new. You guys are hearing it for the first time, but this is, truly the most exciting thing we've ever brought to market, and I'm not exaggerating. This is 100% cloud native. This is a virtualized production control room that's accessible in a browser. You log in as a director, TD, producer, graphics operator, whoever you may be from any location, and can operate a production as if it was in a truck or from a central control room, if you guys are familiar with REMI productions. What we've brought to this product is you can support up to 12 live sources, which can include LiveU sources. It could include other encoders, RTMP streams. We've launched a completely frame accurate live switching. So with time code data, we can actually make sure every single live source is frame synced in the production environment. We've also introduced, which we'll talk about, instant replay. This is a huge one. So with variable speed playback, you can actually have 2 to 4 replay channels available to you for, as most sports productions need. People love replay. You can also introduce
I want to comment on that because when we talk sports at a high level, you've got multi-camera, you've got it. You've got graphics and scoreboards, you've got it. And then you've got to have, if you're really going to be at the next, you have to have the instant replay. And what I think is so amazing is not only do you have instant replay, but it's pretty easy to use. And I don't know if we get a demo of that later, but we'll definitely, maybe after it's in production, we'll have you back on the show or one of your demo guys, and we'll really pound on LiveU Studio 2.0. And I want to mention that we used LiveU Studio to actually go remote from a trade show, and it was phenomenal, and it was really cool. And we had James back home producing Adam was shooting it at the show floor in Vegas. And that is a very tough room to get even a cell phone signal from. And we streamed up and back, and it really worked great. So I can't wait to see all the feature set of LiveU Studio 2.0. And then the other thing is that talk about the multicast a little bit, because I think that's so important, because we're watching sports on a phone. We're watching it on a big screen TV. We're watching it on a computer screen, right?
Yeah. So, part of what LiveU Studio can do is the distribution element. So, typically in a production, especially in like the linear fashion, right? You're pulling up a fiber line or a satellite truck or maybe a LiveU encoder, and you're sending that feed to maybe a master control or some, distribution center. So what Studio can do is become that distribution. So it can allow you to stream to maybe a platform like TikTok, where you've got 16:9 aspect ratio, and you can even frame the video so you have different publishing points and different perspectives and different, delivery to wherever your fans are. Stream to X, stream to Facebook Live, as well as feed and distribute to another LiveU decoder, which is something that's very unique, is that you can actually feed the content from the cloud directly into your traditional workflow if you've got one, or if you're a packager and you're wanting to send to, one of our fiber networks that we work with. So it's really up to 30 streaming destinations as possible.
Cool. So let's dig into the interface itself a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of give a peek, because some of people, may have seen Studio before, but we've completely redone the user interface. So I want to kind of give little tidbits of what it looks like. So LiveU Studio, again, browser-based. It's sort of a layer hierarchy. So you have your live, your graphic elements, your live sources. You can actually, customize this based on who you are as the, contributor of this production. So it's a very elegant, simple look. As if you're edited anything, you're familiar with this sort of layout. You also have hotkeys. So a lot of people are, okay, do I really want to click and cut between my live sources? No, I want a Stream Deck, or, save some hotkeys to do my normal cuts between the different camera angles. So that's all something you can customize, and you can customize even to the point where you're doing transition blocks. So set up stingers, customize your dissolves and different wipes and different things you need to do when you cut between your camera angles, especially when you feed into your replay or something like that. So this makes it very simple. And of course, there's the preview and program logic, as most people are familiar with hot switch options. And you can set up your shot ahead of cutting to the live programming. So this is the, as well as replay, right? Let's not forget replay. The biggest element is you can actually enter an entire different screen to enter replay mode. And it actually captures all, if you have 2 replay channels, 4 replay channels, depending on how you set it up, all the angles of that event that just happened. And you can do a quick backup to 30 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. It's recording the entire broadcast. You can go all the way to the very beginning if you're doing sort of a highlight clipping type of setup. And you can cut between the different angles that have been recorded in your replay, put it in your playlist, do a transition, and play it out. So this interface, it's really is worth having a demo artist kind of walk through. I will take you up on that offer, because I really think there's nothing else on the market that is like this and so easy
and if
to
I
use.
have a touch interface, can I use a touch screen interface if my laptop supports it? That's so cool. We
Yes,
talked about the
absolutely.
distribution. I jumped ahead a little bit, but I think that
It's okay.
it's so important. One of the things you hit on is that I can know where I'm going. So if I want to go to TikTok, it's vertical video, and I know to get graphics that fit with vertical video. If I'm having the wide angle on a different screen, I can have my graphics laid out differently. I can actually be creating my content for all 3 or 10 of those specifically. And that's just, to me, just amazing. That's something that, to do in a studio is very expensive.
Exactly. And most importantly, and I want to emphasize this, we have the ability to put in SCUDdy 35. So if you guys are doing localized ads and distributing to one of your OVP channels, this platform can allow for that. So there's, when you adopt something like this, you do see, true, revenue returns, because SCUDdy markers are something that, I know broadcasters are familiar with, but it's becoming a more and more widespread thing for these streaming sides of productions and live productions. Because I mean, if those of you guys are familiar, it allows you to have the whatever platform you're streaming on localized ad to the user that's watching. So it's and making sure that those are scheduled appropriately in your broadcast for live is great. So
the local hardware store can inject itself into the home field game where everyone else is seeing a more generic ad.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
So that's what we say. Lightweight but heavy hitting.
Great call. So let's talk about the actual workflow, and it's actually a bundle we have available where we've actually made this the lightweight sports production bundle. So walk us through it.
Absolutely. So I thought it was a good idea to kind of give a high level overview, right? Like, why do we call it lightweight? Lightweight is because of this workflow, right? It's simple: contribution, production, distribution, all in one. There's no real complexity. We have comm solutions, of course, or, those sorts of things are on top of this because it's very important to communicate to the field crew, your home crew, and all of that. But it is truly from ground to cloud to the crowd, as we like to say. So simply put, this is sort of the workflow. And really, why is it lightweight? In the next slide, you kind of look at sort of the advantages of adopting something like this. It's very much a turnkey. You can scale this, right? You spin this up at any time for any type of production. It is very cost effective. Think about how much is, investing in a production facility and hardware equipment, as well as traveling people, maintenance, all of these things. There's advantages of using something in the cloud to keep costs low. It's also, like I always say, like LiveU is lazy LiveU. We're very easy to use, very user friendly. And this lightweight production solution in studio is no different. It's very much intended for sort of anybody to adopt and go live within minutes. And most importantly, it's very much high production, right? It's quality is most important to us, as well as support. We are hands-on with training. We want to get you guys to be, experts in the product as soon as you sign on. And that's why our partners are so important, is because they agree similarly. So, looking at the differences you guys can see here, it's really, because we're using bonded cellular, so simple to, have the contribution be from anywhere, right? Because cellular exists nearly everywhere. So in the field, you don't have to worry about sourcing Ethernet all the time. It natively feeds into LiveU Studio, so you don't need to worry about a decode physical server or a decode server in the cloud. LiveU Studio accepts native LRT feeds, all frame synced. And I put together kind of like a peek of like what this might mean in a pricing scenario, because everyone's like, what does this cost? So I want to talk about this
before you dig into it, because I think one of the things that we hear a lot from people is the pressure that they don't have that big amount to outlay on capital anymore. So instead of CapEx, as they call it on Wall Street, it's OpEx, and it's paying, and expensing it. But what I love about this is that I can scale that OpEx to the amount of shows I'm actually going to do. Obviously, someone who's going to do 30 events is different than someone who's doing, a 12-game football season, or someone who maybe needs a little bit all year, but they know with the 1 month when the playoffs are, they're going to need a lot more, because now they're playing, 3-4 games a week instead of 1 or 2 a week. So that ability to spool up my expense side to match the event that I'm creating side means my revenues grow and my costs grow to support them. But when my revenues come back down to earth, I can lower my expenditure. So now you can go into the details of an example of how you actually do this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, with this combination of lightweight production, we've sort of looked at different bundles that we might see in the field. So here's an example of sort of a 4-camera live production where you're using a couple replay channels, you're distributing to social media, and you probably have maybe 30 events in the year, like a typical, season for a 4-camera production. So this breaks down to having the technology that supports the contribution, and this also includes data, by the way. Yep. Contribution, production, and distribution technology elements breaks out to $2,200 per event. Like, not including, of course, personnel, the travel, the cost, but just the service as an example. I mean, this is a competitive price in the marketplace for everything that you're getting. And normally we're not a company that like broadcasts pricing. We're somebody who's kind of like, let's customize it. But I thought this was a great example because we did this for a customer. And I said, you know what? This is the number that you have to keep in your head, right? Like per event to do something like a replay with 4 cameras and have all the elements that you need for all the production aside from people.
Now I want to tell you something. I rarely criticize a slide deck like this, but I love it. But I would like to see minus personnel, travel, and gear costs. Why? I don't have to buy a production truck. I only have to send my camera people there with cameras. I'm not having to send a whole team of people on location for the event, and travel therefore is a lot less expensive because the cameraman can arrive that day. It's not like I have to set up a whole production, studio for 2 days before the event and pay for all those costs. So while you have to do the personnel, the travel, and the gear costs, it's so much less and lighter because really we only have to send the essential people to shoot and capture the sports. The whole thing can be mixed at home. It can be mixed you can have one guy who just mixes 3 different games a day. He does the morning game, the afternoon, and the evening game, or he could be doing from 2 different countries. He could be doing a soccer game that's, local because he's in the U.S. And then he can also be mixing a soccer game that maybe their U19 travel team went to Italy and they're playing a game, the girls are playing in Italy. He could be producing both those from one guy without having to travel. And you can't be in 2 places at one time, but you can be in one place producing show after event after event after event in sports. And I think that's part of that whole spooling up thing. But it really allows you to have much less people and travel expenses in producing these sports. So you might actually offset that 2,200 event in travel and personnel costs alone.
Absolutely. Like I always say, I wish I had a calculator, like whatever you're budgeting right now for your productions, like let me compare it to this, because I guarantee, we've had this done. We did this exercise with a regional sports network who did Remy production for one of their spring training games, and it was 70% cost savings compared to the traditional method. I mean, that's
and
huge.
You don't have a calculator, but I want to stress on this is not a buy now button type thing. What you're going to do is you get on the phone with us or a LiveU dealer. You're going to talk about what you want to do, what you want to produce. We're going to bring LiveU into it. We're going to customize an entire lightweight solution that fits for you and your current budget. And we're going to go after the scalability and the expandability. So we're going to meet you there. And what it means is you're not going to be paying for anything you don't need. And you're going to have exactly what you do need at a price that is far more affordable when you look at all the costs involved in producing sports, especially when they're not a home game.
Absolutely. Love that. Love it. So
cool.
Next, I thought, let me just stop talking for a minute and actually have a customer who has adopted lightweight production and using the solution and play out a little case study for you guys. Never before seen, first seen here production. So hopefully we can play that.
Very cool.
We're here for the Champions of Change basketball game. Doug Baldwin, Cliff Averill, and Michael Bennett. Not only do they highlight everything going on in the community, but they use their platform to supercharge other organizations that are out here constantly doing the work. Doug Baldwin.
The Champcast is what you're watching right now, and thanks to our friends at Alaska Airlines, presenters of the Champcast, they will match your donations for the first $5,000 donated this evening. So you know what you got to do.
Gen X, baby boomers, I know we just now found out about that QR code. You know what I mean? But you know, you can grab that phone and just right there.
BECU Poll for Champions of Change voting is now open. Process, start making your voices heard for who you think deserves to be the MVP of tonight's game.
Back to you guys.
So what we're doing at Champions of Change is really trying to spark the sustainability and that fuel the fire and the flame for these organizations to continue to do the great work that they're doing.
And actually, he joins us right now, Mr. Matt Hasselbeck. Matt, what's up, man? He is. Number 8, what's up, baby? I told you, Stacy Joe, it would come down to the wire.
Will with the Hail Mary.
And that's the game, everybody.
The game.
Everybody's healthy. Doug Baldwin, Team Baldwin loses 5-1.
Thank you again for taking part of this. Thank you for joining us. Hey, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. And we'll see y'all next year.
Wow, that was so cool. And it's just an example of what you could do with it, with this lightweight solutions, and very excited. And once again, call us up. We'll get you together with a deal with LiveU. We'll talk about what you're producing, what you need is, how many cameras, how many replays you need, and you're going to be able to have your own customized solution that can grow with you as you grow, or scale down is, unfortunately, sometimes the popularity of our team. We don't have the same great season, and we don't have the same amount of things. We don't always make the playoffs every year. We wish we did, but we don't.
Yeah, and just in that theme, right? It's, Gary's right. Like, we customize solutions are the number one thing. We're consultative. We're technology, solutions providers, and to empower you. So whether that's REMI production, on-site production, cloud production, I try to say that lightweight production is really anything you want to make of it. Our goal here is to, bring quality up, efficiency up, scalability up, and costs down. So, and getting you what you need is important. So any one of these sort of solutions, we're happy to customize. And I have an example of something we've done recently with, some of you guys might be familiar with the Savannah Bananas. That's a fun sort of sport in itself. If you guys aren't familiar, the Bananas, they're out of Tennessee. Yeah, so they kind of created this banana ball bonanza type sport entertainment fan first experience. And they were super successful in their home ballpark, and they decided they've got a huge YouTube presence, a huge TikTok presence. People were really just connecting with this organization, and they took their production on the road, and they did exactly what Gary, sort of detailed. Is they said, okay, like, here is what it would cost me to do, a traditional production. It seems very expensive. We're streaming this on YouTube. It's really for the fans. Like, we want to be nimble. We want to be creative. I need to be innovative and flexible. And so they came to LiveU and they said, listen, what can you do? And so we provided this sort of workflow of REMI production, produce everything out of your central ballpark like you typically do, but all the fields, all the road games, which were sold out in minutes, by the way. It was like a Taylor Swift Eras concert. These tickets are harder to get, I'm pretty sure. And it's been incredibly successful. They've doubled the amount of games they did this year. They'll even do more next year. So it's a perfect example of like a sport that maybe it's not aired on linear TV, but man, do the fans want to access it, and they want high quality and they want creativity. So that's what we enabled.
And getting back that lets you build tighter engagement with your team and your community where it comes from. And it's great if your team's Ohio State and you're on national TV every day, but let's face it, we're all not, and we don't have that, but it doesn't mean you can't produce some great stuff. And I really like the fact that you can do that for OTT or YouTube specifically, because that's where the fan base lives now. It's great that everyone watches Monday Night Football, and it's great that we all watch the Olympics on TV like we're showing this, but far more sports get consumed on a device, locally, on a computer, on YouTube, what have you. So it's so cool that we have that ability to do that. Let's. I know we talked about it at the beginning of the show a little bit. But let's double back about the Olympics, because you guys really big presence. Kudos.
Oh yeah, and I hope you guys watched NBC Sports. I watched a lot on Peacock. It was fantastic. Those guys, that team at NBC, are so creative, so innovative, and they give the fans everything they want. I watched on Peacock, and I love to show the highlights right when I entered in a program and got to see everything just before I get to go to the live programming. And I just loved what they did this year. And I'm a big fan of the Olympics in general.
And one of the things I like to tell people they don't realize is that the camera people were there and the talent was there, but a lot of the people who were like the in-studio commentators were not in Paris. They were in their local studios that were set up. It was a great example of remote production. The other thing was cool, and I know you guys can do this, is just because you're the cameraman for me doesn't mean I can't. If I'm the away team, I can still feed it to the home team. I can feed it to a out of town, whatever. So you can share your broadcasts through LiveU also. And I don't know if we had a slide for that. Can we talk about that a little bit? Because I think it's so important.
Yes. No, it's incredibly important. So you're right. Supplemental coverage, right? The IBC, they have, their camera angles and they're covering the sports themselves, but everybody has a story to tell that's maybe more based on the US market or, Latin America market. But there's so much content. Like I said, there's hundreds of LiveU units out in the field for Olympics. We have a platform called LiveU Matrix, which allows you to dynamically share content, live content between content creators. So, with NBC Sports, they have Telemundo, they've got all of these other, local partner affiliates in and around the countries, as well as even maybe local TV stations in the markets that some of the athletes are at. So they've got, parents that may not be at the Olympics, or they've got a, crowd of supporters in a certain school that the athlete had come from. And to make that story, get that compelling coverage, you can't just deploy all of your own gear, right? That's not sustainable. But the local TV station or the local freelancer, they're covering that story. And LiveU Matrix allows them to dynamically share that content with other broadcasters. And so they can bring in that content and make that a part of their story. And so you get access to a global directory of LiveU users. And in the beginning of the deck, I kind of detailed we've got, thousands of LiveU customers across our ecosystem. So the ability to leverage that to share content is sort of opens up opportunity, especially in the international market.
Some examples, I think even locally, a whole state that had a high school Division I, all those teams could be sharing content with each other and sharing games, because you're going to be meeting up at some point and playing each other. And if you're a college, it's maybe a D3 school and you're working on recruiting. Well, if you can always tell the kids who your stars, hey, you make the team, your local TV station is going to get access to what you did over there. So they brag a little about you, your team gets some visibility, and all of a sudden, you're really pushing out content, which, let's face it, content's king. Everyone wants content. There's always a slow news day. So if they want to do a story on the 3 kids who made the lacrosse team, out in Nebraska or Denver or what have you, it's a great thing that you can do a story like that. And I got to say, this next slide really impresses me, because you've got this is pros bragging about LiveU products. So I don't know that we need to read them all, but let's just leave it up there. You've got hockey, you got baseball, you got NASCAR, you got the New York Jets. I mean, we talked about the Olympics. The LiveU technology is used at every level of sports production and news production at that point. You can jump on it too in a way with these lightweight production bundles that fits your scope of the way you want to cover the game, and does it on a budget level for no big outlays of big cash in the beginning, and a way to scale based on how you use it. So you can start small and grow bigger. You don't have to start with the most elaborate package in the world. Give us a call. We'll get you together with a local LiveU dealer and LiveU themselves on the phone. You guys have great pre-sales team. I got to give kudos to that. I don't think we mentioned it enough, but your team is just fantastic. It's just really understanding the needs of the creator, whoever it is, the producer of the show, and making it a reality. So that's real wonderful stuff, and you guys do a great job with that. So thank you so much, Janelle. This was a great show. What's this URL code go to? Turn us on to that.
So this was just a landing page for Sports Solutions, kind of walking through lightweight production, some case studies, things that are relevant to, LiveU works in many different verticals: news,
Yep.
enterprise, house of worship. So we try to narrow the focus to sports and give you guys more details, things to download, stuff like that.
Awesome. A great show. I think we really hit on the big, most important stuff for, what LiveU's doing. You guys have done a fantastic job with these lightweight bundles. I like to end my show by giving my guest a chance to recap. The floor is yours. If you want to talk about your favorite sports team, LiveU, whatever you want, the floor is yours.
Well, I just want to say that I also had a Matt Olson bobblehead here for the Braves, since I saw that you have a bobblehead. I couldn't figure out how to put it behind me, so I just want to say, go Braves. But I really think that LiveU has been the forefront of innovation for many years. That's why I joined the company. But I think what we're doing now is really going to bring another layer of enablement to sports, and I'm so excited to talk with any of you guys who are interested. And again, Broadfield's is fantastic partners. Their resellers, their partners are also very empowered and knowledgeable at LiveU products. So don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we're here to help. Most importantly.
Cool. Well, I want to thank you. You can see that I've got 3 bobbleheads here. Today's the last day, so I'm going to add a special prize. The first person to put in a comment or email or text us who those 3 stars are right there, the team and the sports, we're going to give you a special prize, a LiveU basketball. So give us a call. We'll get that out to you. Not a call. You got to get the right answer. First person to time in only. And I know everyone's going to kill me now because they're going to say, now we have to ship a basketball someplace. I don't even know if we have one, but I'm sure you can find one for us, right, Janelle?
Yeah, I'll get you one. No worries.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you very much. This concludes our last vendor spotlight for SportStream. Thank you so much for being a part of it. We've done some great stuff with the SportStream. For those people who only caught the third day, not the other days, we've had vendor profiles. We've had shows where we're doing case studies, where we're talking to dealers across the country about some of the sports installations that they've done. And I just want to remind everyone that you come to us, you tell us what you want to do. We've got a lightweight LiveU bundle for you. So thank you so much, Janelle.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it. Thank you, James.
LiveU #1. High five.
Woo-woo.
Woo!